Okay, Mayor Orjiekwe. Finally learned how to say your surname.
I
You
know.
proud?
It's about time, to be honest. It's not actually that
Right.
hard when you break it down.
To be fair, you allowed me to call you Maya for like the first 4 months of us knowing each other, and then tried to correct me. It took me ages to then start calling you Maya, your actual name, because you didn't want to correct me. So you cannot blame me if I've only just learned how to say your surname.
Listen, Lewis, I was the only black kid for a long time. Eventually, you just let it slide. Imagine running around trying to correct everyone all the time. I'm just like, yeah, it is what it is.
Especially in Liverpool.
Yeah. Even my own clients call me Maya. I'm like, it's too late now.
Just roll with it, mate. I mean, there's worse things that they could call you, I'm sure.
That part, literally.
So I'm looking forward to having this conversation. We were just having a bit of a chat before we started recording. So a bit of background on you. Obviously, I want you to talk about the point up until I met you in a sec. But we met actually both working for a separate coaching company, which were very much transformation based. Very much do this, eat this, listen to me, do this, and you will get the result. And that's what we did. And then eventually we both transitioned away from that, set up our own things, and then both went into more of a lifestyle-based approach. So we've both been through fairly similar kind of journeys, I would say, since that point. But just for kind of like context of your age, because I know that I bring it up a lot, but it blows my mind like how good you are at the age that you are and all. And I forget when I'm talking to you these days, I still forget your age and stuff because you are what's the words? Is it wise for your years? Is that what they say?
Yeah.
You're wise for your years, and you're a very good coach. So, give us a little bit of a rundown, mate, of your transition into the fitness industry.
So I was very much like, that kid who's just doesn't have anything that they really truly like. Like, when you used to do all those like career days or people be like, oh, what do you want to get into? I was always surrounded by a lot of people who had like a bit of an idea. Like maybe they wanted to go into law, maybe they knew they wanted to be like a contractor, whatever that was. But I was just very much like, I don't care. Like I was very rebellious as a kid. So what I actually ended up doing is I went to college, did three things that I never really cared about, just so I could say I went to college. And then I pretty much left, and I knew, when deep down in your heart that you weren't really ready for something. I went into university and I studied interior design for 6 months. My lecturer told me I was defensive, and I left like 2 weeks later because I thought this isn't for me. Like, and it was sad because I think, when you're in a room with people who genuinely have a passion for something and you don't, it's almost like a big red flag in front of your face constantly. Like, there was people in the course who'd spend hours on the projects and I would just be thinking about what I'm doing on the weekends. Do you know what I mean? So I left. I went through like a bit of like a dark time there, thinking I don't know what I'm actually good at. And one day I literally went to the gym with my sister, and this was after I'd knocked on doors, I did different jobs, I'd worked under the NHS. And she just said to me, she's like, you're actually really good at this. Like, you really pushed me through that workout. I had always maybe just dabbled in the gym, but I never thought like I would ever be good at anything. Does that make sense? When you grow up, you're taught morals, but no one, if you haven't got a talent, you don't hear those words too often. So I lent into it and I got a personal training qualification, the easiest, shittest thing you can get. Um, and then I just ended up jumping in the gym in the same week, and it was just almost like, yeah, this is me now. Like I know this is part of my identity. I know I want to help people. And I know that, I enjoy working with women and actually teaching them about things like exercise because I do feel like I'm good at it. And then lockdown hit. And I think this is where obviously a bit of a reality check came in. I always say personal trainers, they have a tough time because, yeah, they love the job, they love the clients, they love the structures and the way they can obviously center their own stuff. But if something is to hit the fan and shit ain't going well and your gym closes or something like COVID happens, you haven't got no stability or anything to actually fall back on.
Yeah.
So I didn't do shit for 6 months. I just sort of dabbled in and out of the gym, did some home workouts, pretended to be an influencer for a bit, like everybody did, with me booty bands. And then obviously I came into coaching with you. And I think that's where I was like, wow, you can actually still touch people, still, have an impact over a screen. It doesn't have to be in person anymore. But then I think I got that same reality check as well as like, yeah, I understand the gym and I understand fitness and I understand nutrition, but people need more. You know, there's people that we're talking to, especially around COVID, where there were so many hard times. People were losing jobs and people were like getting sick, and there was a lot going on. Mentally, I knew in myself, I feel like I'm missing a big mark on what I can say for women and how I can help women, especially with the ones who have had experiences different to me. It isn't about deadlifts. It isn't about lifting weights. It's more about actually how they pour into themselves in a higher manner.
So let's rewind a bit. There's a few things I want to talk about. First of all, so your lecturer called you defensive, so you just left. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. No, but even before that, so you mentioned kind of like growing up and not having an idea of what you wanted to do. So I'm right in thinking your dad's a doctor, right?
Mhm.
So was there ever any sort of like you need to follow in these sorts of footsteps? Having a dad as a doctor with quite obviously a high flying profession. Was there ever any sort of maybe I should do this, but it wouldn't really be what I want to do? It's more because I feel like I have to do.
Yeah. If you come from an immigrant household, education is basically the only thing that truly matters, you know. And the truth is, I'd never had it pushed on me by my dad, but the family and the expectation, I get called the black sheep in my family because all of my brothers and sisters had gone to university, all of them are employed, all of them had kids, all of them followed the same path. So when I was there, it wasn't like anyone was telling me that what I was doing was wrong, but I think it just automatically felt like, well, I'm not going to university for 14 years to be in the medical industry. I don't like it. I don't see the point for me because I know I wouldn't actually enjoy it. So it was a bit like an identity crisis, I think I had, because you see all the people who are, you know, in a stable position and changing people's lives, and they all seem to be in outside of the coaching industry when you're not in it. So the pressure really came from looking at my family and thinking that's what I had to be, not directly from my family. Even though, you know, when I dropped out of uni, there was a bit of like a dark time where people were just like, so what are you going to do? So what are you going to do? And all I could ever say was nothing. Like, I don't know now. And if it does, and if anyone's gone through that, they'll know how, you know, shitty you can feel.
I wonder how much of a either indirect or direct impact on you today, the sort of stuff that you do with your clients today. I wonder how much of an impact that had on it. Again, coming from that background where everybody's helping somebody in some way, shape, or form in their own professions. Also, again, high flying, high functioning family, you being the black sheep of the family. What sort of impacts has been, again, I was the black sheep of the family at one point. What sort of impacts do you think that had on you that then led you to kind of where you are now?
I think what it did is it taught me to ask more questions to why everyone is the same and why I'm different. You know, like, and don't get me wrong, there's things and very much similarities. I am a polar opposite to my mum, very like my dad. And in a weird way, I think what I had to understand was even though he went down one path and he went to university, the same path that I'm on has the same drive. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah.
Um, but I think honestly, like now, what's quite nice is I start to realize that me and my dad and even my sister, we have similarities in the way that we think and the way that we do things. The impact really though, I think in the long term, it's taught me not to actually just think that everyone's got it all figured out and think there's just one way of doing things. You know, as a coach, as you will know, you may start off doing something, but you actually learn more along the job and it'll take you where you want to go as long as you follow that same direction. So I'm definitely more like, well, let's just not try and over control every variable and let's see what we can actually get from it and see how that happens. You know,
Yeah.
people overthink so much, I think.
Absolutely. I've learned more on the way, actually doing, like you said, actually doing stuff, whether that's with clients, like, what is it the fitness one could say? In the trenches with clients, like coaching, or like even about business, about what I want to do, about who I want to be, all that sort of shit. Absolutely on the way. Like, I had no fucking idea. I started so late in this industry, 28, I think I was 29 years old before I'd even considered it as a career. Like
Mhm.
before it had even been something that I thought about. So yeah, it's one of those things, you just take the chance and then go for it. So so did you go to uni directly from school, directly from college then?
Yeah, like it was the worst.
So you went to uni at 18. Where did you go uni?
Manchester Met.
Oh, did you? Yeah, me too. Big up MMU, but I guess you probably you probably got there about 5 years after I even graduated, I think. So 6 months in Manchester. Did you move to Manchester as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then did you have to move back after the 6 months when you?
Yeah. It was like, you know what the problem was is the reason why I went to uni, honestly, is because at college I had a career day and they were going through everything like, oh yeah, like there wasn't a conversation about even apprenticeships. It was
Mm.
just what uni are you going? And I just was looking at everyone. I was like, I don't really want to go uni. And I remember my friend at the time just looked at me and went, well, why are you in college then? And I was like, okay, I need to go uni. And it was again just trying to sort of like fit the narrative that had got me life together. But when I moved to Manchester, and you know what it's like when you're in uni, majority of people are there for social events, to drink,
Yeah,
to get away
yeah,
from the family, to enjoy themselves, to make new mates or whatever. That was not me. Like, yeah, I went out, but I'll be honest, I've got my mates. Like, I'm good.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
really need any more. I didn't
yeah.
go in with it with an open mind because I knew I wasn't really meant to be there. So when I moved back to Liverpool, I was just like, I feel like I've just wasted so much money, so much time. I should have just went with my gut.
It's fairly similar. So I was one of those. I was gifted at school, not hardworking, not revising or anything. GCSEs, walked through like A's and B's and all that sort of shit with no kind of like stress. The options at that point were you go straight into work, you stay on at sixth form at the school, and my school, I fucking hated everything about it. Or you go to the college which is down in the town. So I went to college because that I didn't want to go to sixth form. Definitely didn't want to stay there. Definitely didn't want to go into work. So I went to college. I had an amazing experience at college. Started to really started to find myself then and my group of people. And I was always like the little outcast at school, trying to fit in and all that sort of shit. But I hated the academic process of college that much that I didn't want to go uni. And I remember all of my mates fucked off to uni. I was like, fuck it. I was working in a bar at this point. I'm like, I'm just going to work in hospitality and I'll figure it out as I go along. I then went to one of my mates who'd come to MMU. I came to her Freshers Week, like not at uni, and went out a couple of times in Freshers. And I remember going back to my mum and dad after and was like, I'm going uni. And they're like, what? I'm like, I'm going uni. They're like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. I need to go to Manchester. And the following year in Clayman, I ended up coming through and coming to MMU and again. So yeah, I get it. And I put up with the 3 years to party, to DJ, to play American football. I got a degree at the end of it, which I've never used. Like, I couldn't even tell you. I can't even remember. Did you get a piece of paper? I don't fucking like. But yeah, I get that completely. So you've come out of university at, I don't know, 18 and a half years old, let's say 19 years old, gone into fitness, kind of dabbled with that. At what point did so you worked in a gym. How long did you work in a gym for before it all kicked off with the old Panny D?
I think I was in a gym for a good 6, 7 months. I always say, you know, when people say things like, do you need gym floor experience to do this? And I'm like, you know what? It completely depends on what your passion is. Like, it is actually helpful if you're a big mechanics guru, you know, to go into the gym and train people. But I think the problem is that when I looked at it, I knew it wasn't sustainable being in a
Yeah,
gym because I'll be honest, I like waking up early, but I don't like training people at 5 a.m. I don't
yeah,
like sitting in a cold room, being in a gym all day. It starts to get very monotonous and it starts to have no drive because you can't really, you know, pour into yourself as much as you want to. You can't really build a business. You've just got to sort of turn up and train and do what you need to do. But it lasted about 6 months. And I think then that's where I didn't really have a choice because things were changing.
yeah.
And I've always said this, Lewis, like I say this to everyone. If I would have went back now to COVID, I would have took as many opportunities as I would have, and I definitely didn't.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't.
Yeah, you were already. I remember when we discovered you, right? We found you. You were already mega active with like social media and Instagram and content, and so you were already kind of ahead of the curve with that at that point. Like we were just fucking winging it, and it was like, oh, we found this person. She's obviously a decent coach. She's fairly good with social media. So how old were you when you started coaching for us?
I must have been around 20, 21. Yeah.
I remember again, it was like maybe 6, 7, 8 months into you working with us before we even discovered that. And we were like, oh shit, No fucking way. We were actually, I remember we were at the, we did like a shoot, right? We were at the fucking gym. And I was like, no way. No way. So the education thing, the point that you've made there about it not being for you and not having a passion and stuff, but you are the same as me now that when it comes to education now about things that you're passionate about and you want to know about, you throw yourselves into it like most coaches, I think all coaches should. So it was obviously just, it's just the wrong sort of thing. Because even then, like when we first started working together, neither of us had a fucking clue, but both of us were passionate about going out and finding out and doing courses and learning and all that sort of shit. So in that role, it was pretty much body transformation. What did working in body transformation online first teach you?
I mean, I think the one thing it teaches you is the science, the application, how things look on paper. You know, if you were lucky enough to get the clients who would just do it methodically, you know, you do get that sometimes. Someone just comes in, does it, and you can see it happen on paper. That's what it taught me, like the times, the length of times, how long things take. But it didn't teach me about people, like
Yeah.
people at the level that I think. Because one, yeah, it's very easy to, you know, have a conversation with a client when you're in the gym with them. You do get to bond with them a lot easier. But I think online it was just very much okay, like I will get this person a result and then they'll leave and then I'll get another person a result. But it's not really having a lasting impact. I think truthfully, Lewis, and you probably felt this way, it gets shit boring. Yeah, like you don't want to be sitting talking with your clients all day about calories, all day about the gym. There is a lot more reasons why someone's there. And I think, yeah, it taught me all the basics, but why can't I intertwine something a little bit more? Why can't I give them a little bit more on what I think is going to help them actually transition into somewhere they want to be too?
I completely agree, and that's what I found. The thing that was holding us back from getting results, it wasn't the knowledge, it wasn't the calories, it wasn't the training, it wasn't the lifestyle factors, it wasn't the sleep and the stress, and like we knew all of that. And you are 100% right. I still to this day think that if you were to give me a robot, could I get them an incredible result? Fucking easy, in my sleep, blindfolded. But you are right. The things that were holding people back from results at that point, it was all the other stuff. It was the emotional regulation. It was the mindset. It was the what's actually going on in your life. It was the how can we fit this to you and not you to this. And
Yeah.
that's where, like, obviously, when I moved away and set up Body and Brain, that's why that became the focus. And you did the same thing with Mentored by Maya. It wasn't even a conversation that we had. It was just like we both seemed to be like, right, okay, now this is the next thing that we need to focus on. So talk to me about that point, like how you found. I struggled at first. I was like, I'm going to do this thing. I want it to be all about mindset, but all I'd done was transformation. So I had this idea, Body and Brain, and I knew what I wanted to talk about. And I found for the first like 2 or 3 months of Body and Brain, it was just what I was doing before, transformation. But I just started asking a couple more questions in the check-ins and talking to people a little bit more. Again, like we said earlier, learn on the fucking job.
Yeah.
How did you find it going from strictly body transformations before and after into what you wanted to do at the time?
Do you know what I always say? I think clients and conversations will always highlight your lack of ability in something. Because I remember one day, so I'd always dabbled in the PCOS type of stuff. I'd always been dead interested in that. And I think I do have a bit of a privilege because my dad's a GP. He used to be a gynae. So anything like that, we'd always sit at the dinner table and talk about, you know, how crazy the NHS is and whatever. I
Yeah.
had a call with one lady once and she was talking to me and things were going well, talking to her about what it's going to be. And she was like, can I be honest with you? And I was like, of course you can. And she was like, because of your age and because I'm an older woman, I just don't think you can take me through the journey that I want because I'm menopausal. So how do you approach this then? And I didn't have an answer. And that was where I was like, I need to get my A game up here. If I'm working with women and I actually value every single thing about them and what they want in a lifestyle journey and how they actually want to change, the basic things aren't going to work anymore. So I looked at my business and I basically just wrote down a list of all the things that this is going to include. Like, yeah, female health is going to be a conversation. We're going to look at nutrition and flexibility. We're definitely not like eat from a Tupperware. That's not who we are. And when I put it all out on paper, I was like, yeah, this feels a lot more like me. If I was to look at anything and look at who I am as a person, this looks like me. I'm not a robot either. Do you know what I mean? And you will get coaches, obviously, who will attract a certain type of client. I'm not going to get the bodybuilders. I'm not going to get the girl who's going for prep. It's not me. So I might as well give them exactly what they want when they jump on a call. You know what I mean? That was the big turning point where I started implementing new things and actually posting different content and seeing what was popular. And honestly now, obviously the people that we work with, we're looking from ladies from cultural backgrounds. So majority of the time they do have health issues that run in the family, female health issues that are genetic. It just sort of fit, it knew it needed to be included.
How, this is a bit of a loaded question, how important do you think that has been in making sure that the stuff that you do and the stuff that you cover is aligned with you as a person?
It has to happen. I'll be honest. If I would still have been doing body transformations and I never would have actually, I don't want to use the word niched in, I just took more interest in a certain thing that was actually applicable, I don't think I'd be doing this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think this would be something, because you know what, like, I don't like quitting things, but I will quit things if I know it's not making me or serving me. And it wasn't serving me, like this whole thing of, hey, like, what's your weight this week? You lost
Yeah.
weight? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, we'll drop calories. Boring, right? It actually give me more opportunity to have better conversations. And you and me are quite similar. We love having a chat about things because if it's
Yeah.
actually going to be constructive, we're going to gain something from it as well. And I'd learn through my clients about what I needed to talk about.
So on that note, obviously you are a woman from a cultural background yourself. You mentioned something there which I didn't actually know about. So women from cultural, or people from cultural background, women, men, you mentioned they've got, are they more predisposed to like certain medical conditions and stuff? Like you mentioned something there about had to learn about certain medical conditions because you were working with women from cultural backgrounds. That's something that I had no idea about.
Well, yeah, if we look at so for example, I had a lot of clients from the Southeast Asian community. And when we look at things like BMI and when we look at things like pre-diabetes or diabetes in general, there does seem to be a rise within that community. Then if we also look at, Black women who have medical conditions like fibroids, that can also be quite higher in them populations too. When you actually look at the world of female health and just health issues in general to certain populations and minorities, you can't ignore it, right? So when I'm getting women coming in and they're being told they're pre-diabetic, but they're not obese, that isn't something that a lot of people are familiar with. But this is where you can go down the rabbit hole of understanding the types of foods that they're having, the lack of activity, the family pressures that they've had.
Yeah.
There's certain beliefs in certain cultures that I understand, but I just thought it was normal. But it isn't, right? It's actually like a trend running through different ethnic minorities, like even just little things about how the dream body or how aesthetically you should look. Like, for example, I had one girl come in and she had great genetics. Like, she looked like she could build muscle, she looked like she'd be strong. But because of where she came from, her only focus was to be as skinny as she possibly could. I was never going to push a narrative on her, about how she should look. But I knew in my head, I was like, I used to do that. I
Yeah.
used to think I could have a thigh gap. I used to think I could be Victoria's Secret model skinny. It ain't happening. I'm Nigerian. Like, the genetics that I've got to actually understand them and work them. And then also consider there's going to be certain foods and certain health conditions that are quite common,
Is so again, loaded question because I know that it is. So let me rephrase a question that I was going to ask you. How do you actually work with your clients then? Again, because it's not just one culture, it's not just one background that you work with. You've not got like a niche of Nigerian women, like you said. You've got quite literally women from all different cultural backgrounds. So how did you first learn about all the different cultures, and B, how much of your coaching now is based around those factors?
I think from very first initial conversations, even when I jump on a Zoom call, first ever instinct, I'd want to know where someone's from. And the reason is because I think that it's because I'm so used to it. My best friend's Filipino. I've been around cultures my whole life, maybe not in school as much. Like I was the black sheep in school, but that forced me to learn more about different people. One, I'm going to ask them if there's any religious things, you know, if they mention things like Ramadan or they mention things like Diwali, I can almost insight, okay, well, this person's going to have a certain approach to food, a certain belief on certain things. And though it's not generic for everybody, it is something that I have to be aware of. So, you know, if you are Nigerian, I know that your family probably pushes you to be a high performer because education's the most important. And I know that a curvier body type is probably something that you are pushed to have,
More
and I've
design.
never really been wrong. Do you know what I mean? But on calls, by simply asking someone where they're from, in check-ins, understanding, you know, if there's family events, how that affects them, how they are in relationships as well. But the main one is food, and it will always be food. You know, a lot of these women, especially when we look at like Southeast Asian popularities, their relationship with food is quite low because of the constant demonization of the foods that they have and they eat. So it's not like I just presume it, but chances are down the line it's something that's going to come up. And that's where I have the tools, the knowledge, the explanations for them to understand that, you know what, it's okay to go against the grain.
There's so yeah, you're right. There's so many different implications that it can. I had a client, a mate of mine at uni, and then became a client. Really get on with him. He lived. He's from a Muslim household, and he's like 20, let's say 28 years old at this time. And me trying to get him to cook his own meals in the evening, because I didn't understand at the time until I'd had the conversation with him. Me trying to get him to cook his own meals, I didn't realize how much of an insult that would have been to his mum, who was preparing all the family meals and dousing everything in oil and butter and all that sort of stuff. And me with zero knowledge until I'd actually had the conversation going, well, just cook your own meals then. It was like, no, it don't work like that, mate. Like, it's not that simple. And there's people, like I said, I had zero idea
Yeah.
until I'd actually sat and spent the time. And it was actually running up to Ramadan, which obviously is something that I want to talk to you about as well. It was actually running up to Ramadan. Me and him sat on a call and he explained all these different things. I was like, right, now I feel equipped to actually coach you. Now I feel
Yeah.
more equipped to actually understand what you're going through as a person. And that's something that I don't think enough coaches do, not just with clients from cultural backgrounds, but clients in general. You need to understand about them, their lives, their situation, their circumstances for you to offer the right tool for the right job. Can't just blanket prescribe shit, and people doing it pisses me off. But on that kind of like segue then, Ramadan. What you do around Ramadan is fucking incredible. Absolutely incredible. So last year was last year the first time it kind of like grew to the size it was. So talk to us a little bit about all of it, basically, like the support, the Facebook, everything.
So yeah, like, I'm not Muslim, right? But what I had to understand is, and the truth is, I think people would come to me and maybe just, you know, assume from the back end of my clients and the clients that I coach, you know, that I understand this stuff. And it was that period of time where I was like, I definitely don't know enough about this. And I actually need to know as much as I can so I can support my clients through it. Because for those who don't know, you know, Ramadan, if you've never actually researched into it, there's so many different lifestyle variables that someone has to consider and so many different environmental impacts that are going to happen to someone. So when you just generically give a fitness program or generically give macros and you don't even bother to ask, you're basically setting up that person for failure in their own head, right? You can't consume that much protein in 2 sittings or 1 sitting. You know, if someone's waking up at 4 a.m., 3 a.m. to pray, they're not going to have the sleep patterns and be able to sleep in the middle of the day. That's not everyone's luxury. So why I actually did it, it was because, you know what? For once, I want a lot of women to be able to say, it's getting me closer to my faith, but I don't need to start from scratch. You know, after Ramadan's done and after I've got closer to my faith, I can still keep on track with my fitness. I can still eat well. I can still make choices. And for some clients, some of them may just carry on focusing on fat loss. Some of them may carry on focusing on, you know, just going to the gym. But for some of them, it is just about turning up. Do you know what I mean? So what basically happened is I thought, let's just do a support group, little thing. Like, this is going to be a little thing. Do you know what I mean? Put it on TikTok. It went completely viral. We had like 2,000, 3,000 people try and join the group. And the one thing that taught me out of everything was that there ain't that many fitness coaches talking about it because they can't be arsed. That's as simple as that. And don't get me wrong, if your clients aren't Muslim and you don't actually need to talk about it, that's cool. But what happens when someone who could actually work with you just needs that little bit of help, and all you needed to do was to open a book or go on Google. Do you know what I mean? Learn from somebody else. Like, I have coaches joining the Ramadan support group now, and that's not because they need it. They're not Muslim, but they want to do the same, help people, and that really shows, you can see who cares more. You know what I mean?
I remember watching it unfold last year. You posting on your stories about it. Oh, we're like, oh, we've got 50 members. Oh, we've got 100 members. Oh, we've got 2,000 members. Oh, it's now at 3. Oh, I was like, oh shit, here we go. So, what sort of how did that work? Because again, this is for anybody that's listening, coaches that are listening. This is a completely free group. You're not getting paid for this. It's just to offer people support in a time that's a little bit more difficult for them. How did that run? Like the actual logistics of it.
So honestly, I winged the whole thing. But what I knew is that there's going to be a couple of touch points, right? So week 1, we get the boring stuff out the way. Should I lose fat? Should I gain muscle? Should I maintain? Yeah, that's for someone else to decide. But I think what it is that someone needs someone of a place of understanding to tell them the realism. Because, you're getting girls coming in saying they want to build muscle during Ramadan. Logically, looking at it, if you're only having such small eating windows, it might not work. But we'd actually, get to know them. We'd welcome them into the group, see where they are in the world. It's stunning. We've got people from everywhere, like everywhere you could ever think of. Everyone looks different. Everyone's got a different name. That community element built itself. But then we'd also talk about things like, menstrual cycles, so you're not fasting. And we'd look a little bit more about adding prayers into the group as well. Actually giving the religious element where we can. That obviously took some research. That's not something that I do. But what was the best thing about it really is that I told them all I wasn't Muslim, but they still decided to listen and take the tips because they knew that they needed the application. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the majority of it was, here's some daily tips. We posted every single day. We did lives. We did everything. The whole idea was to include. That's it. Because it can feel quite isolating. If you're the only person in your family, which is usually common, who trains and tries to obviously improve your nutrition, Ramadan is going to be a time where you're going to spend more time with them, and you're probably going to feel like your fitness goals or whatever goal that you've got goes in the toilet. So it was beautiful, like seeing all these women just talking to each other. Some of them are even like friends now. And it's like, okay, well, this is exactly why we bring people together for free, because though I'm not getting paid for it, it's nice to know that I have a mark on someone because of what I did. You know what I mean?
So again, I imagine most people listening to this are coaches or people that are interested in you. Obviously, when we post this, so people will want to know. I imagine, because I'm interested. Did you try and sell them anything, upsell them? Was there any sort of business behind it whatsoever, or was it started off purely to help people? Like, what happened on that side of things?
Do you know what? The truth is, and I'm going to say this to just be dead controversial, I don't feel like everything I do in my business needs to have a return. Yeah? Like, and I know logically everything you invest your time into has to give you more revenue. I did it because I wanted to. Yeah? Like, that's it. And did clients come off the back end of it? Yeah. I didn't sell them nothing though. They just liked what they liked the value. They liked what we seen. And that was that. The group's still up. I haven't posted in it in a year. I made a new one and I'm running it right now. Same goes. Yeah, like, I just want to be the person, truthfully, maybe a bit of ego, that if you think about Ramadan and getting support or this or cultural foods or anything, I pop into your head. And that's exactly why I do what I do. Like, I wasn't sitting here with a group of 2,000 people thinking, oh my God, like, I'm going to be rich. Like, that wasn't what I was thinking. What I was thinking is just turn up and do the job, do what you said you were going to do. And I guarantee that people will never forget you. In a year's time, they may want to work with you. They may want to just engage with your stuff. I understand that everyone in that group probably won't work with me, but there will be some. And that's all that I'd ever be. You know what I mean? Don't know how you feel about that. Like, this constant obsession sometimes to constantly be making revenue and constantly be getting a return. I get it, but sometimes that takes all the fun out of it for you. And I just want to do some things sometimes that I just can. You know what I mean?
I fucking love that, mate, and I couldn't agree more. Like, the main driving thing behind Body and Brain, when I got into it and I was kind of like had my head above water and I was paying the bills and stuff like that, it then shifted very quickly to like, right, okay, I've got my baseline of finance, whatever it is that I kind of need to tick all the boxes and not be in any like any struggle or any pressure or anything like that. everything from this point is now about impact. And that was the thing, like the mission statement of my mission statement that I shared with you at that day. It was all about impact from that point. It was like, now I will do things for free. I still do things for free. I'll be talking to people in the DMs that probably are never going to sign up to the Amplifier, but now they want to know about coaching. And that was ultimately the thing that the hardest decision for me was to move away from body and brain, and the people that I was working with at the time that I'd got good relationships with, that were making great progress, to move away from that to do what I do now. But when I realized, when I kind of figured out that impact was the thing that I'm focused on now, I took a massive financial hit for that first 3 months. I went from earning a decent monthly amount coaching. I spoke to them all. I said, look, I've thought about this for a couple of weeks now. You all know that I'm interested in this. This is what I want to do. People, other coaches have been asking me to do this. I remember saying to them all, I sent a message out, and only one person didn't like it, and fucker, right? But I sent a message out saying I could have very much easily let all your monthly payments keep coming out and let you all fizzle out, and basically just not, when you're ready to leave, not replace you, and cashed in for another 6, 9, 12 months, because my monthly lifetime, my client lifetime was fucking ridiculous anyway. Mm-hmm. Or I can do what's right and cancel all your payments, coach you for a month for free, which is what I did. Continued coaching all my clients for free until either they found another coach or they felt set up to go on their own, to then go into what I'm doing now. And then there was another 3 months where I didn't get paid, where I was literally having to do this and build it up because I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I completely agree. Like, you do have to get paid. Again, there'll be all sorts of coaches listening to this, maybe some that are getting started out. I would say I completely agree with you, but do what you've got to do to make sure that this is what you can do. As in, take whatever clients you need to, at whatever money you need to, until you are not stressing about having to go and find a job in fucking Lidl, because there are so many good coaches out there that are unable to help people because it's not paying the bills. So do what you've got to do and then figure out what's next. And it doesn't all have to be about revenue, and that impact thing is massive. And you said, so you're running it again this year, and you also mentioned that you wanted to be the name that people thought of. I'm still in the EIQ group. I'm still in their grads group. I'm still in the Facebook group. I've still got access to the course. Somebody posted before Ramadan, I've got a few clients that are coming up to Ramadan. I'm really unsure where to go. And I literally tagged your Instagram straight away. I was like, go and speak to Maya. And so did Amelia. Amelia mentioned you on one of the lives. So it's like, you are the person that I first think of. And again, Amelia and other people mention when people want to learn about supporting the clients more. And what's also mint is that I imagine you have to click approve on everybody that tries to join that group, right? How many coaches realistically do you think will have declined all of the coaches?
So many.
Innit?
But you know what? Yeah. It's just, I don't care. Because the truth is, if someone's going to copy me, they're still not going to do it right. And I think that's where gatekeeping and all this stuff, I'm not saying that everyone should have access to every single thing in my business or every single bit of thing, but at the end of the day, isn't that how we all learn? That is how we all learn. Everyone got to being a great coach by being probably around other coaches. It wasn't just all the education that you did, it was the conversations that you had and the realizations that you had. You've taught me so much, because now I can actually look at from a mindset perspective and not be just chatting shit. I can actually put some thoughts behind it and some proof behind it and some knowledge behind it. But this is the thing. I think a lot of coaches, they feel like if they try and help other people. I did an event, right? Usually people will be looking at that well, I'm not having coaches come because it's meant to be for clients to sign up. Didn't care. Come. It's about community. It's about someone tagging me on their story, and then later down the line, someone finds me. And that's what a lot of people get greedy with, I think. They think that everything needs to have, this is getting you paid. But then when you're doing that, you're not being creative in your own business. It's not really for you. You're just following the same book that everyone did.
Yeah.
No originality.
Yeah. And again, I understand that we're having this conversation from a position of both of us being able to pay the bills. So it is different at first, but you are 100% right. Let's talk about the event.
Yeah.
Femtour. So you've just ran your first one down in London, was it?
Yes, it was.
It looked sick. Talk to me about that. What was the thinking behind it? Who was it for? What sort of stuff did you cover? Give us it all.
So for me, it was all about getting women into a space where fitness, nutrition, lifestyle didn't seem as scary anymore. And I wanted it to be something where, the truth is, I have a lot of very good social media relationships. I know this sounds really crazy. And I'm not going to talk about lead gen and all that. Genuinely, there's people on my Instagram who I would class as like more than acquaintances, not friends, but more of acquaintances who I check in with. Not because I want them to sign up, but genuinely, I just like how they are.
Yeah.
Like, they're nice people. We've had conversations, we've bonded. They always support my stuff. Like, they're always the first to do that. And I wanted them to have a space to be there as well. So do not get me wrong, I stepped into that very, very naive. I didn't know how much it actually takes to run an event. I don't know why I did it in London. But what I did know is that I want people to at least leave today saying, that was freaking sick. Love what she does. I actually want to go to the gym and I want to change my life and I want to understand nutrition a lot better. So it wasn't just one of those events where, you train or do a class. We actually intertwined both elements. So we had obviously the form and technique. Then we obviously touched on food relationships, burnout, female health and pelvic floor. I talked a little bit about, assessing failures and everything that we spoke about, like even mental health. That is exactly what I do on a day to day. That's everything I talk about. So having actually professionals come through and talk to people on the level that they don't feel so intimidated was great. So the truth is, Lewis, like once you do an event and you get all that feedback as well, your head's friggin' massive because you think, oh wow, I can run something really good. But it felt like everybody had knew each other for a long time in that event. And I didn't feel nervous. I didn't feel like I just felt like, right, this is sick. Let's carry on with this. I could have stayed there for an extra 3 hours. No problem. You know
It
what
is
I mean?
mint in it, but you are right. People have no idea. If it's just like a client event, like the amplifier events are sound because I know you're all gonna come. Like there's no trying to push it, sell it, fill it, any of that sort of stuff. I know what I'm gonna cover. That's just me. But events like that, obviously we have so anti-fitness fitness event now, anti-bullshit fitness event, obviously that you spoke at. People don't get it. If you're trying to fill that event with people that don't know you, aren't paying you, it's fucking chaos. It is so much hard work. Every single time we're running we're in the push to one now. Every single time during it, I'm like, I'm not doing one of these. I'm not doing it. It's not worth it. It's not worth the stress. They're not big earners anyway. People think you're going to make a load of money out of an event unless you own a venue and aren't paying a videographer and all of the speakers are doing it for free. You're fucking not. You're absolutely not. Like we've still not made money on an event, but you don't do event. I don't think you do events for that. I don't think if you're just a one-man band coach, you can't run an event with the intention of it being a financial earner unless you're going to charge ridiculous amounts.
Yeah.
But every single time I'm like, I'm not doing another one of these. And then you get there and everyone's buzzing and they're all talking to each other and you've created this big family. And again, for me, it's the impact thing. And then after it, I'm like, for fuck's sake, I'm going to have to do another one.
Yeah, that was it. Honestly, Lewis, I had no intention. I was like, Femtor, done. I ain't doing this shit again. This was stress.
Yeah.
And then the minute it was all wrapped up, when's the next one? When's the next one? We bring this to Manny, bring this to Leeds. I was like, okay. So you know what? This is the thing, like, and I get it, like you said, it's a luxury. Once you've established yourself in a place where you do have a little bit maybe more income to put towards these things, you can get all the fancy stuff. That's cool. But does it always have to be that way? Like now I've obviously made Femtour a bit more of a thing and we're just doing a walk.
Yeah.
Like the idea is still the same. The environment's different.
I did see that. I'm speaking, and I don't know if it's female only or anything, but I'm speaking at an event on the same day that you're doing the walk, and I was like, do you know what? I might go, but I'm A, not female, and B, already speaking.
But that's the thing. It's like, you know what? I think a lot of people, there's a reason why all these running clubs are flying now. Yeah. Majority of them don't want to run.
It's community.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's where, as an online coach, it can be a very isolating job, can be very miserable. So doing little things like that, there's nothing better than actually meeting your clients in person and they're just as excited to meet you as you are them. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
provide it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So some couple of questions for you, the ones that I sent across this morning. I always like to know, what do you think, in your opinion? There's a lot of things that make you a good coach, objectively, I would say. But what do you think is the one thing that you do really, really well and makes you a good coach?
Oof. Oh man, sometimes I hate talking like from a proper way.
Nobody likes answering this. Nobody likes answering this question, but there'll be multiple things. But I'm always interested to see what people think it is about themselves.
I think I can look at things from a non-knowledgeable perspective as well. That's where the adaptation of how I can look at a client, and I think that is a skill. It's very easy to get caught up in the generic stuff, but I'm not scared to break the bounds. Like if some people was to step inside my business, they'd be like, "This is some airy fairy. This ain't training. This ain't results." But it's not meant to be for you. So yeah, I think mine is definitely being able to just strip it back and adapt to somebody else to get the best out of them. No matter how that looks.
Yeah, sick. I think that's something not enough people do.
No, they don't.
For sure. It's, again, like I mentioned earlier, and it's what we essentially had to do in the business that we were working for. It's fitting. You need to fit your plan, quote unquote, plan to the client, not the client to what you do.
Yes.
And you won't understand that until you've worked with a number of a large number of clients, and you've realized that actually I can't just keep trying to shoehorn people into this because they're not getting results. They're fucking off. They're not like it's just not good for anybody involved. Next question for you. So everything that we've talked about a lot. What one thing do you think that coaches need to know or need to learn to become better coaches?
I'm trying not to think of the proper hyper motivational sentence or something. Honestly, I think is to take risk. Like take as much risk as you can. Because you know what? The riskiest things that I've done that I've felt a little bit nervous about have given me so much clarity on what type of coach I want to be.
Like what? I'm not letting you get away
Like,
without giving an example.
That program that you don't want to put out because you're scared no one will sign up. Take the risk. That post that you want to talk about. Take the risk. That transition between transformation coaching and mindset coaching that you want to do. Take it, right? Because at the end of the day, nothing is actually permanent. There's been many times I've sat here and looked at it and gone, well, that's flopped. And I feel like crap. But I think if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't actually be here. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't be still doing this. Like we said, like if it was just body transformations and I was just giving people meal plans, I'd be freaking miserable. And I think it is dead hard as a coach now, because you do step online and you're going to see this business coach and that person making this much and they've got this very fancy website and you think you need all of that, right? Like the truth is, I think if you take risks on the things that you think are going to work for you, you'll learn along the way and you'll find the right path, but you've got to take them.
So here's a little story that I don't actually think I spoke about, right? I did very much this thing. So I had a little bit of business mentoring from, a business quote unquote mentor. And I was like, this is way before I'd even thought about what I do now. I knew that I was a mindset wanker. I knew that I absolutely loved it. I knew that how powerful it was. So I created this 6-week mindset program that I'd already kind of done with my clients, these certain things with my clients. And I was like, do you know what? There's a lot of people out there that don't either want or need the fat loss side of things. So I'm just going to launch this mindset program called Shift, right? The whole, you're going to have a mindset shift. I paid for copy for like a launch for it. I spent some right money on getting this thing sorted. I knew the modules worked. I wanted to limit it at 30 people. It might have been like 150 quid. I can't remember off the top of my head. Literally, with no intention of upselling people, anything. I just really wanted to run this mindset program. Pushed it, literally delayed taking on clients for body and brain for the fitness side of things. So I was like, this is the focus. Sold 2 places. Yep. 2 places. I have no idea. What the fuck just happened there?
That's FaceTime. It'll do that now.
That's going to go on the YouTube. Hilarious.
Yeah, sometimes if you do a thumbs up, it does that as well. It's not doing it now.
Well, yeah, fuck no. So for anybody that's listening, balloons have just appeared around my head. So 2 places. And I was like, I cannot just have 2 people in this group. Like, I can't just have 2 people in this group. So I gave it to loads of my mates and shit for free. Did I put you in there? I don't know if you.
Yeah.
I gave it to some like random people just for free. I was like, please just come into this group, turn up to the course, and then comment on the post. Like, fuck it. And I ran this course, and it was 6 modules long, and they were all, and again, this is me being biased, fucking incredible, genuinely life changing shit. But I was like, right, okay, that didn't work. I'm not going to do that again. I'd had people more knowledgeable than me say, don't do it. Mindset coaching on its own is really hard to sell. Don't do it. Like you've got no experience. Like you've got no experience. You've got no evidence. You've got no results. Don't do it. I then turned that 6 module course for normal people into a 6 module course for coaches. The exact same 6 modules, but teaching coaches how to teach those 6 modules, which is now the Adherence Amplifier. If I had not took that risk and lost, well, the copy was £1,000. And I sold 2 places. Lost 700 quid on this 6 module course that I had to turn up every single week and fulfill, feeling like I'd lost, feeling like I'd failed. I wouldn't now have this thing that I've got that is genuinely having an impact on coaches and their clients and doing everything that I need it to do and earning me a very, 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 very good wage if I'd have not taken that risk. So I think that's a fucking great thing to say. I think that's a great point.
That's what I mean. And I think the thing is, your losses will probably turn into wins if you just give it some time. You know, I definitely took risks in my business, like by changing who I work with, you know, dropping certain clients because I knew that I weren't the best coach for them. You know, just even little things like I've got a risk for me is that I'm traveling next week and I'm gone for a month. And I know that there's not going to be as much growth, not much time that I can actually devote into taking calls with people or whatever. But the whole purpose is I need to get out of my comfort zone again so I can actually come back and apply it to what I want to do. You know what I mean? So, Bali.
Sick. Standard online coach. Have you been before?
No.
Whereabouts you going?
Everywhere. Seminyak, Ganyu, Ubud, all them places. And don't get me wrong, I get it. Like, it's a great place for digital nomads. It doesn't matter where I actually go. It's that aspect of being on my own and actually being able to say, you know what, like, I can't wait for people. I'm a very do it now type of person. You've probably noticed this about me, like I'll just do it. But it is a little bit of a risk because one, I'm going to be alone. So we'll see what happens.
It is like I enjoyed it. I did nearly 3 weeks. So when I was living in Australia, it's literally like a fucking 4-hour flight, 5, 6. I don't know. It's mate. That's like certain bits in Bali. I can't remember which ones that are almost like Australia's Magaluf. Yeah, and it's where the Australians go to party and shit like that during the summer. It was good. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. I can't imagine myself living there, and I don't think it's all that it's cracked up to be for, like, again, this nomad life, but it is what it is. I think people like it because you can live like a king for £10 a day. So they're like, I'm living a life. Look at me. I'm running this successful business. And I'm like, great, fucking, like, good, buzzing, good for you. So 2 more questions, last 2 questions. What's next for Mentored by Maya? What's next for Femtor? And then final question, where can people find you? Plug whatever you want to plug.
So what's next for Mentored by Maya? What we basically want to do is use Femtor as the more community-based element and then also grow our coaching. I do want to release a program moving forward, definitely this year. I do want to take some new people on board as well. But again, it's going to be about a transitional stage, and I want Femtor to be one of those things that we can provide to people who don't work with us. So just by the way, I've got Box Park in Liverpool, grand opening. So if you want to come and do a class and actually have some people talk, I'm going to be there all the way through May till June. I'm on the website now. You can actually see it. We're going to have to be running it with somebody else as well. So if you want to have best of both worlds, come down. And then you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Mentored by Maya. Yeah.
Femtor's got a page as well, right?
Femtor has a page, Femtor Fitness Events, yes. That's where we post the free walks. We're going to be doing a couple of things this year. We've already ticked off our main event, but that one, chances are it's going to be another one exactly like that at the end of the year. But we're doing it in Manny. Sorry, London guys, I cannot be bothered.
In Manchester, what a shout. The Box Park stuff, literally, I was looking at the time. I've got 2 minutes. So I didn't know that you were allowed to talk about that. I didn't know that it had been officially released. So go, elevator pitch, 30 seconds long on what people can expect from the Box Park events, because obviously I know about it. I think it's fucking sick. Talk to people.
So Box Park is obviously running fitness events and classes. and I am obviously going to be running some of the classes, so it is going to be a workout. However, I want to tie in a bit more femtour into this and have a bit of a networking element and an educational element. So this is where we're going to get not just me, other personal trainers who aren't these super big influencers, who are very much from the city that they're from, very approachable online. We may have blue ticks, but we pay for them type of vibe. Yeah. But then we're also going to have people speaking about a range of different topics. So it is probably going to be more female centered, but I've asked you. I'm obviously going to ask Chloe again, who was at the first one, because she talks a lot about female health. And then we're just going to make sure that all the way we're running through, there's something new that you can always expect. Something you're going to learn, something you're going to have a great workout, but you're also going to leave with a bit more knowledge and a bit more empowerment on how to continue this yourself.
Sick. Nice. Good elevator pitch. Are you running it with OP, by the way?
Yeah.
As in the DJ?
Yeah, he's doing the classes.
Yeah, I've again, back in the day, back before I moved to Australia, I've met him a few times. I've been in a few fucking states in nights that he's been DJing at. Be good.
He's a tank.
He's a big old boy. He's a big old boy. Right, okay. I have literally got to bounce. I've got another call, but thank you very much for that, mate. There's a lot of value in there for coaches coaches and non-coaches that are listening back to that. If you don't already, go and follow me. Go and follow the Femtour events page. You won't regret it.
Thanks, Lou.
Peace.